Yeah, yeah, good to go. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Sahitya Academy's Webline Literature Series.
Good
I
afternoon.
am Raj Mohan.
Good afternoon.
So, last those who've been watching last few episodes, they will know that we have been talking about what poetry does, what is the meaning of poetry, and so on. But today we are going to have just simply a pleasure of listening to the poets reading their poems, or sometimes reciting the poems. So we have four young poets with us joining us. And the first of them is Amit Shankar Shah Saha. He's a poet and short story writer in English. And his published collections are Balconies of Time, Fugitive Words, and Illicit Poems. He has won Poesis Award for Excellence in Literature, the World Weavers Prize, a Hobbing Asylum's poetry competition. He has received commendable mentions in Wingward Poetry Contest and Char Journal's White Poetry Contest. He has been nominated for Pushkar Prize, the Griffin Poetry Prize, and the Best of Net Anthology. His poems have been included in Best Indian Poetry Anthology. He is the editor-in-chief of EAL Review, the co-founder of Rhythm Divine Poets, and he is Assistant Secretary of Intercultural Poetry and Performance Library. Welcome to the show Saha.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Honored to be invited.
Yeah. Our next poet is Zinia Mitra, and she's Associate Professor and Director of Center for Women's Studies, University of North Bengal. Her poems have been published in national, international journals like News India, Indian Literature, Ruminations, Contemporary Literature Review, and so on. Her books include Indian Poetry in English, Critical Essays, Poetry of Jayant Mahapatra, Imagery and Experiential Identity, 20th Century British Literature, Reconstructing Literary Sensibility, Interact on the Concept of Motherhood. The last two are Motherhood in India, Myths, Theories, and Realities. Both Interact and 20th Century British Literature, she has co-edited. Great to have you with us, Professor Zinia.
Thank you, sir. I am honored. I feel so honored to be invited here in this Webline Literature series, Poets Meet.
Thank you. It's our pleasure to have you. And the third poet to join us today is Joy Bose. And she has got two collections, and Corazon Roto and 69 Other Creations. That's one book. And Amu, that's the second one. She has editor or co-editor Dawn Beyond the Waste, The Colon of Heritage, Calcutta Dots, a Freedom Raga. And she has won Bharat Nirman Award for Literature, Nissim International Prize for Poetry, Women Par Excellence Award for Literature, and Godi Award for Motivational Speaker. It's great to have you with us, Joy.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure and honor to be here with the Sahitya Academy.
Yeah, thank you. And our last is Symbol Sebastian. She joins joins from Dubai, and she's from Kerala, and many of her poems have been published in various international journals, and she has also been reading poems in Sharjah International Book Fair, etc. So welcome to the show, Symbol.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. So first we will, as per our convention, we will start with one poet. Amit, please read your first poem. And please, all of you, I request all the poets to give the title of the poem. If it is untitled, please say it's untitled. Thank you.
Okay. The title of my poem is Silhouettes.
Okay.
I imagine the life of that girl in a short-sleeved three-quarter dress, who watches countless trains pass by while being stranded on her balcony. I name her Nayantara and imagine that she never saw all those trains carrying dead bodies of all those partition refugees. History has been so kind to her. So, while rushing back on train, when I see in the fields silhouettes of crucified trees, I let her be. I let her be. Thank you.
Thank you, Nayantara. She's a superstar of South India.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Xenia?
My first poem is Earth.
Okay.
As I slowly turn into the earth, I perceive my gnarled roots have gone deep down, like that of a 200-year-old banyan tree, with dark green, symmetrical, tangled leaves and tenacious vines, some of which crawl into the dark recesses of the earth to form other hungry roots. As I slowly turn into the earth, I perceive that I hold quiet water in my palms, water from stagnant ponds and green freshwater lakes, also ancient teardrops from mournful eyes. Before turning into the earth, I discern that the lid of the dense sky is open. The plainer clouds, wingless forms, the shapes of fearful animals, hulking bears and sharp-toothed alligators with open jaws like old scars, until there are no more shapes to play. Then it rains to create another sapphire space. As I slowly turn into the earth, I perceive that I think of your green-rimmed eyes sometimes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good one. Yeah. Zoe?
I'm going to read a poem called Corazón Roto, which is heartbreak in Spanish. Before I read, I'll ask all my listeners to close their eyes for a moment and think of all the heartbreaks they've ever had. Okay? And then at the end of the poem, I'll ask you something. You don't have to answer me. Just answer yourself, and my poem will be done. Heartbreak tastes saccharine. Loving lovers, losing sheen. Bitter remains in the morning after. And demons are drunk in rotten laughter. Vineyards cold and hard will remain. And love, it will dive deep into all mundane, and magic will evaporate and lovers will be distraught. But love is a deception. Love can be taught. Trust and mirrors are not for repair. And unshared love is solitaire. Though these broken lines will last forevermore. Señor Amando, por favor. Go on loving if you please, for once you've loved, you can never truly unlove. Thank you so much.
And that remains those who are watching right now. Yeah, those who are watching on YouTube and Facebook, please do share your comments. I mean, whether your heart is broken or not, you can write it there. So, Symbol.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can see, we can catch it up with them later. So yeah, Symbol. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Rajmohan sir, for your kind introduction, and I'm honored to be here. Here is my first poem. The title of the poem is Hope. Along the frosty, crisp air, amidst the lush of gusty wind, when the breath of life is on the blink, there comes a ray of hope across the mighty soul, rendering a divine heal, a hope to prevail beyond the entities and to live longer across the sands of time. Thank you.
Amit?
Yeah. Yeah. So my second poem is titled A Poem for Dark Times. Let us presume there exists a poem that I want to write. Let us search for that poem tonight. Let us plagiarize a chunk of verse from a Hindu poem and profane it with the lines of a Muslim poem. Let us put out the light and sing the words of that poem and see if the words kill each other and cease to be.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's a good one, Amit. Jinya?
Good. My second poem is on reading her story. I had met Tilottama Mojumdar at a Sahitya Akademi Poets and Writers Meet in Darjeeling. She had read out a story, and this poem is inspired by her story. The title of the poem is On Reading Her Story. She stood at the crossroads of her life for him. She stood there, denuded of the poundage of her everyday. He had asked her to leave her baggage behind, promised her that they would start afresh, that he would always be there for her. She lugged the weight of the moments she couldn't have left behind. All the raindrops on her leaves, all his poems they would read aloud, all the coffee bills they could laugh at, all her fresh ferns, spear grass, train tickets, egret feathers, a small water bottle, some money, lipstick and comb, also memories of scratches on her dry barks, yellow leaves that had collected at her feet. In short, her bare essentials and a part of Sukna forest range. She waited for him there, through all the droplets of water that formed in the mouths of the tap fell one by one. She waited for him there until she was hungry and not hungry anymore. She waited for him there until the last train left the platform, until the bodies around wrapped blankets turned dead on the benches, until she was unburdened of all the tearing noises the world makes, until it was time to return home, until it was time to return home. Thank you.
Joy?
Yes. This second poem is from my book titled Amor, Hymns to Aphrodite. And this poem is Love 51. This poem is dedicated to the Florentino Arizas that exist in all of us. There is hope in the scent of bitter almonds. I've not tasted that, or unrequited love. Unrequited love at its strongest is pure, and I live in a spurious world. To love and be loved in the many folds of fat, muscle, and skin is the curse of the flesh. The tangible perishes in the pyre. Time and love, these continue beyond dimensions. Thank you.
Unrequited love. Okay, we'll come back to that later. Symbol?
The title of the poem is The Better Me.
The better?
Days, the better me.
Okay.
The days are brief, the storms are towering along thy wretched soul. The dreaded ailment had left the scars deep down the physique, crippling the youthful mind across the brief sands of time, yearning a cheerful dawn that never ever fade away. The sky, the earth, and his creations seems marvelous than ever before. The untold words and unexpressed emotions lingered in the dejected mind. Let me set back along the life lane to be a better human than ever before, to fulfill the pivotal role as a dutiful daughter, a loyal wife, and a beloved mother, to love more and to be loved, to share and to care, and to behold firmly my loved ones before it's too late to taste the essence of life. Thank you.
Amit?
Yes. Uh, my next poem is titled Under the Quilt. When I was a child, I used to build my house under the quilt. From under the quilt, I used to hear the chirpings of crows and sparrows and sounds of utensils. From under the quilt, I used to hear my grandmother calling Lado Gopal from the courtyard. Under the quilt, it was all sound and warm and never winter. Thank you.
Yeah, Xenia.
Yes, my poem is titled Love. I want to connect the spaces left by your songs before the light changes forever on Tindharia Hills. Something grew heavy in my throat those days, looking over the monotonous gradient, talking of waking mountains, like the soggy droop of dark green pine leaves. Something grew light in my feet those days, like I could sprint across Sukna forest slope, like I could leap up to touch the evening star, a trembling flow inside me, like a canopied rivulet. Every time your eyes touched mine, a green solitude. I want to connect the spaces left by your touch, the old road, the bench, the trunk of the tree. Something grew definite in my eyes those days when my skin dissolved under your words and my eyes held out their hands to you. Floating above the weary fence, I choose this figurative life because love sometimes grows too heavy, like the idea of God, to carry literally. Thank you.
Love is always heavy, isn't it?
Yes,
It's never,
it is.
yeah. Joy?
Well, I'm going to talk about the one who fell in love with the god of love, Cupid. So my poem is titled Passionately Psyche. You're my winged caress of tender night, and I, the envy of Venus wrathful. In you making, I dismantle my making. Psycho, say they, Psyche, say I. Love, a serpentine shield-nailed archer, I barter the naivety of my invisible world. In you seeing, I reblind my seeing. Psycho, say they, Psyche, say I. Ingraining the grandeur, I nailed vicious fleece. On sticks I float, you yearning. In you hurdles, I infuse my hurdles. Psycho, say they. Psyche, say I. Proserpina's precious presence an infernal dream, erasing strife. You're at Zeus's feet. In you judging, I juxtapose my judgment. Psycho, say they. Psyche, say I. Thank you.
It's very fascinating in many languages, especially this particular word psyche. So when we go back, when we go back to Greek, and it meant soul. Later, when it got spread into other languages, it meant life. Then it became heart. Then it became mind. It's really fascinating. Like, for example, many people in India do not know the word kavi. The word kavi is there originally from Sanskrit, but it is used in many languages of India. But originally, till maybe Kalidasa came or just before that, so the word kavi was used to denote only the seers, the saints, the one who saw, the perceived the truth and spoke. Later, it came to denote poets. Anyway, so that's good one. Symbol.
Seer,
Yeah, correct.
Yes,
Seer.
seer.
Keats has a poem, Ode to Psyche, that we
Yes,
have to teach.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Who can forget that?
yeah, yeah, symbols.
The title of the poem is The Invisible Hand. Alone and uncertain dawn, through the faintness of darkness, when the soul is struggling to prevail through the brief sands of time, an extreme caring heart with a wisp of gentle touch, standing by the side, rendering a divine heal. When the languor of medicines and the prolonged stay back sinks you down and shatter your dreams. A heavenly peace render with a wisp of tenderness, clasp you strong evermore. When the days are short and the minds are rest, the haunting negativity puts you down and belittle your thoughts. The invisible hands are protecting you with his gentle miracle touch. When the nasty illness cripples your body and languish your heart, the divine healer beholds you firmly in his safest hands. There is no end to laughter. No tears shall be shattered. There is a ray of hope and a bunch of positive vibes in the invisible hands. Cherish your memories, my child. The sorrows and agonies will turn to splendid delight over the sands of time. Thank you.
One more thing, invisible hand. Like, I mean, it's very fascinating. The last one, under the quilt, Amit, poem. So that particular phrase that use under the quilt, maybe he is probably from Odia or Bengali perspective, he wrote that. But under the quilt, there are very famous stories are there in many languages of the world, many civilizations use. And she talked about Psyche, and now she's talking about invisible hand. So the invisible hand, how across religions it became a symbol of protection. That is the most horrible thing to have this. I mean, in a real experience, it's something remote, and many poets do not use that. But it's a religious poems. When you see that, whether we talk about Chandidas or Tulsi, or if you go down south, Tamil Chiddas, all these people are using invisible hand. Anyway, so that's besides the point. And Amit,
Yeah. The
please,
next poem.
please come closer to the camera. Can you?
Okay.
Not to the film. Yeah, please come to the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Since all of them are reading love poems, so this poem
Yeah.
is titled A Love Letter.
Okay.
All my love letters I write to you, my mailman steals them every day.
Oh my God.
He knows my darkest secrets, deepest desires too. My kidnap letters suffer Stockholm syndrome and fall in love with that man who steals them. They no longer remain my letters. My word to you never gets delivered. And you think I'm not a man of words. Thank you.
Okay. Stockholm syndrome for the, yeah, okay. And Zinia?
Yes. My poem is titled Darjeeling, because I'm from Siliguri, Darjeeling. So this is titled Darjeeling. Between creases of sleep and wakeful states of years, the molten sunlight flits on East leaves. Eternity breathes behind the other slope. Darjeeling exists in a dream. Pine trees shiver in green ferns. Their aging shoulders stoop, touch mine. Peace flags with Buddha's message flap colorful undertones in the wind. Kitchen fumes spiral upwards like affirmations of some hermetic faith. Each footstep relies to the other in boulevard silence. Chorbatos meander deep into the unconscious. Memories swirl on tea garden gradients, yearning days, beggar nights, dim yellow bulbed love-makings, cross the road to Oxford bookstore like the penumbra of a kite's full wingspan, a whiff of horse's pungent smell. The gale eats into the flesh, rain. I wrap a half-wet dream in my woolen shawl, scrawl a name on a condensed window pane.
Joy?
So let me give you a small background to this poem that's required. Often what happens, people fall in love, and unfortunately, the lovers, they disintegrate, they break down. And in many cases, okay, it happens because our society is largely patriarchal. It's the woman who is asked to often compromise, and the woman is broken down in many ways. It's not just physical violence. And at one point of time, the woman gives up, but the soul or the spirit doesn't. So this poem has been written from that perspective and is called Porcelain Doll. Before that, there is one line from Albert Camus that I would like to read. It was as if that great rush of anger had washed me clean, emptied me of hope, and gazing up at the dark sky spangled with its signs and stars, for the first time, the first, I laid my heart open to the benign indifference of the universe. He took a hammer, a wooden hammer, and broke the porcelain doll. He could have crushed it between his fingers. But then there would be blood. So he took the wooden hammer, and he broke it, his eyes laughing hoarse. It was far too statuesque to fit into the wooden shelf that housed the wooden hammer. And now the shards and the pieces still glisten like oriental stars in a dusty corner when the sunbeam creeps in. Thank you.
Symbol?
The title of the poem is Salute the Angel. This poem is dedicated to all the nurses round the globe. Salute the Angel. Amidst the awful distress the global pandemic has evoked, the angels in white banded together against the dreadful virus, often risking their priceless life, battling as frontline warriors to tackle the global outbreak. Thanks a bunch for instilling hopes in the minds of fellow patients to ease their struggle between life and death through the professional soothing smile. Hats off to the amazing angels for rendering a compassionate divine heal to witness a brighter world than ever before. We are forever grateful. Thank you.
Yeah. Amit, that not Derrida, before Derrida, maybe around that time, Merleau-Ponty also, that somebody is maybe a postman stealing and knowing your thoughts, and it never goes there, okay? And then in the end, the sender thinks that he is no longer connected. You know, that this is something which it was used for quite a long time. That epistemology, that fusion of horizons is not at all possible. And in Europe, there's quite a long tradition of writing, very similar, very, very similar to what you just read. That, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, okay. No, that's good information. So I continue with my next poem.
Yeah, yeah.
This poem is titled Paisley. You, who will find her one evening smiling at me while wishing an untimely goodbye and leave me with you under a roof, roofless. Know that her footsteps echo an ancient amnesia of the beginning, where she left paisleys of footsteps on the leaves for generations of my rebirth to see and not recognize the fossils of the past gleaming in the perpetual monsoon rains on alluvial plains of my geography, where paisley-shaped rivers meander like lost inhabitants of a civilization that the archaeologists forgot to dig and record in the annals of history. That's it.
Yeah. Zinnia?
Joey spoke of anger,
Yeah.
taking the cue My next poem is Anger.
Okay.
Tears mopped the room as the day slid in again and broke its back on the floor. Her shadow broke away by turns, negotiating with the heaviness of her eyelids, heavy like breasts swelled with milk. The pains swam from one lake to another, soggy with questions. Answers were packed in the empty bottles under the bed, adding up every night like personal blemishes. Her body felt like squeezing of damp laundry before they are hung out to dry. Back in the kitchen, she could not chop the inside or roast the insides, just anger boiling, boiling without ever reaching a point. The sunless day felt so blue like the color of her cheeks. Her screams kept her from getting scared at night. Night was a time when her cheeks turned red. Somewhere, the whining cry of a child hit against the walls, heavy like her hours of unpaid dowry. Thank you.
Joy?
You know, Xenia, it was beautiful, and I'm going to
Thank
take
you.
the cue from there, okay,
Huh.
and talk about another small little background. So I was talking to some people, and they were all rape victims, and they were coming out, and I wrote this poem called Fallen after
Please.
coming back from the session. Fallen. She, da- she danced on the fallen petal, the fallen woman. She was dancing on the cascading fallen petals, her cascading tresses tracing her silhouette. Her azure humming continued, traced by the hiccuping burnt copper sun and a shadow of the northern star. Perhaps there were none. The azan of the mosque didn't stop her dance, nor did the frantic bellowing of the temple bells stop it. She didn't stop her dance when they groped her, roped her, raped her bare. And now she was a little out of sync, writhing frantically in stark moonbeams, the floor fallen globe. She never stopped her dance. The muffled humming continued, more azure than ever. That night, brown winter sucked. Brown blood, copper tarnished, glee patterned, the earth brazen inscribing, conquerors, conquest, conquered. She laid bereft, fallen petals, and in a lost whisper of the night, her last dance it remained. Thank you.
Symbol?
The title of the poem is The Admirable Heroes of 2020. Amidst the horrid mood the global pandemic has entailed, not enough words are said to the unseen hardship of teachers who are merely greatly expected to revise their lesson plans and switch over to online teaching. This cannot emerge overnight without a prodigious effort, and they just made it happen within a short span of time, traveling extra miles than ever before to mount the best learning journey in the never before seen pandemic. Their patience, support, and teamwork explored new ways for doing things without draining the essence of classroom learning, where homes transformed to classrooms. Let not a virus defeat us. When these all draw to a close, the students will have cherished memories to pass on to the next generation. We are forever grateful, dear teachers. Thank you.
But Symbol, you are a nurse, so you should
Yes.
know. I mean, we can never defeat virus. Virus always defeats us. I mean, we are scared of one particular virus, but our body, our existence is full of virus, correct? Anyway, so that's more of unsung heroes of 2020. Okay. Amit?
Yeah, my next poem is titled Damming the Sky.
Tanning or
There's
tanning?
damming,
Okay, damming the sky. Okay.
damn it. So,
Yeah.
damming the sky.
Okay.
There's no answer blowing in the wind. Summer's not the summer that has been. It doesn't even rain inside. Inside the night, a midday sun. Inside the day, a darkened night. Birds hide at dawn, chirps muffled in humidity. On sweaty skin, air sticks like memory. Shahid says, it rains as I write this. Mad heart, be brave. I look around the parched land. It is like nostalgia. Nothing alive will sprout out. In the desert of dead deeds, I can plow a furrow, plant seeds of tomorrow, and wait for the missing rains. Shahid, it doesn't rain anymore. Mad heart, how brave can you still be? Someone must have damned the sky. Thank you.
Xenia?
Keeping alive the women question, love, anger question. My next poem is Long Stalked Yellow Flower. Should we be glad we lived the moment? The moment of your picking a long stalk yellow flower and clipping it on my longish brown hair. You said you wanted to collect all the yellow flowers that glow on Tintharia slopes throughout your sunburnt days. Bring them to me on a long island moonlit night. Hold my hands till the sun cleared your grey convex horizon. It was such a limpid dance of words. I am no Mrs. Dalloway. I hate the clinking of glasses. But in a sense, we are all Clarissas, absurd perhaps in the eyes of our own Peters, organizing our grand parties with words and thoughts and ideas that eat and drink and dance and blather throughout our lives. Our lives are like scratches made by wolves' claws on the surface of our wet soil minds, scratches on bare skins when we stand naked, dripping water, tiny points of ache forming on our old scars. We greet our old scars like familiar kitchen containers, look for them in the throng of voluble memories, feel at home with chopped pieces on chopping board. Much of it is inside. Thank you.
Why?
In times of the virus, in times of the virus, I will be talking about a bacteria. This one is titled Love 50. Love, you bacteria, afflicting all when seasons change, infecting the blood, bones, and sores. Love, love you infection. Poison is negated by poison. The lover is the antibiotic for the illness, administered twice daily for a week. The body weakens, then recuperates. Eat well, take rest, drink plenty, and don't fret. The disease will be well soon. Love, you bacteria, love is a disease. Thank you.
Love is a bacteria. Okay. Mm. Now, Symbol, you're going to say love is a virus. Yeah, please go ahead with the next poem.
The title of the poem is Friend. Alone a sunshine moon through the faintness of a dome. There comes an angel who stood by my side with a pleasant smile. There evoked a world of joy, a serene casket of love, an utmost caring heart filled with shining deeds, consoled the wounds of mine, sharing the wine of life. A heavenly peace render, with a wisp of slender pity, wipe the tears of heart. Seasons have changed, years have passed, but the nectar of intimacy still lay imprinted, wrapped with fragrance of love, in imperishable castle of life. Thank you.
So now we have time for one poem by all of you, and then maybe anyone wants to say something. Now we'll start with the Amit, your final poem.
Okay. This poem is titled In Defense of Passivity. Something in black, so good. On your fingers rest your chin in thoughtful repose. In your mind, I, in my mind, you, write thin stories of unrecruited love. A slight shake of the head, tapering of the eyes, and a plea in your lies. So much of smoke screens the distance in between. It is difficult to see. Your voice hangs like carbon particles in the air. I breathe in passively. The melody of love lives in malignancy. Thank you.
I thought Symbol will read such a poem. Anyway, it's a good one, Amit. Yeah, Zinia, your final poem. Sorry?
My final poem, yeah, my final poem is Our Languages. My final poem is Our Languages. We
Okay.
speak too many languages in a lifetime. As Indians, we are all polyglots. We speak in other tongues cautiously, like picking bones out of fish. Our mother tongue lives on and on in us like Lata Mangeshkar songs. We speak the language of spontaneity in childhood, the language of rain dance, the language that smells of unripe mangoes cut into small pieces, mixed with mustard paste, sprinkled with salt and sugar, and green chili choice cuts. When in love, the language of love through eyes and fingers, sometimes through our whole bodies. When out of love, the language of disgust is an impatient movement of the hands. As mothers, we learn the language of prayers, holding our children close to our bosom. We pray for every child of every mother, for each tiny bud yet to bloom. Rebellion is also a language that leaves secret scars on the body. Loneliness is a language across QWERTY keyboard, a language of the fingers. Death is a language too. Sometimes people choose it consciously over their mother tongues. Thank
Okay.
you.
Good one. Joy?
For my swan song, I will read a prayer for my son. He wraps around me suddenly. I'm a tree trunk in his dreams. An infant he, a creeper creeps, and the sun gently sends its beams. I will wither away one day into an artist's canvas at dusk, and in green flourish may he forever be a precious glass bottle of musk. I remember a life moving around, protected in my stomach protruding. Empty eye often touches head, often it has nudged my inner lining. Stirred somewhere deep, I said to the child, touching my navel on the emotional ride, with a wild heart, mother, in a wild, wild world, this journey for you will be a wild, wild ride. Thank you.
What time is it? Symbol there?
It's 1:45.
Okay. I think for a long time your clock is showing 2 o'clock. Okay. So anyway, your final, your final point, please.
The better days. Amidst the dreadful agonies the terrible pandemic has entailed, staying at home and being safe to fight against the dreadful virus, gloves and masks seemed inevitable. Washing hands and social distancing turned out to be the part of life to break the chain to curb the spread. The lockdown days enlightened us to calm down the fast-paced life and to boost up the human bond to perceive the essence of life. The corona-free days are yet to come. The dark clouds will pass by. We shall overcome the battle to witness a brighter world than ever before. Thank you.
So thank you very much, every one of you. Thanks, Amit. Thanks, Zinia. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Simple.
Thank you.
And for all
Thank
the
you for the
viewers,
opportunity.
yeah. So for those who are watching, and please do join us for next session of English poetry reading. That's on 31st, again at 2:30 in the afternoon. Very eminent poets are joining us from around various parts of the world. So please do join us and continue to watch Sahitya Academy's program in all 24 languages. Thank you very much.
I'm
Bye.
so
Thank
honored
you so
for
much.
this
Thank you so much
invitation.
for the honor. It was a great pleasure. Symbol, Genia, Amit, you were all great. Loved your
It
poems.
was very nice to share the platform with you all. I really enjoyed this afternoon with poetry. I'm really honored. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
it was a pleasure listening to all of you, and